real quick, is it a green flag if a guy is in therapy?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Gabby?
Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, if you're not, that's not like a no, but like,
Right.
I think once you work through like some things that you're really struggling on that might have reflected in past relationships or like hookups, then yeah, it's attractive because it's like you're able to overcome and learn from what your struggles were.
Sure.
Yeah, I would say therapy is a green flag.
Yeah, it's good.
And you said yes, yeah? All right, here's the hot, I'm going to give the hot take. I think it's a red flag if someone's in therapy.
Why?
Okay, so it's a bigger red flag if they have a mental health issue and they're not in therapy. But if they're in therapy getting treated for something, then I think that's a red flag. I'd much rather someone who's not in therapy, who doesn't have any issues going on. That's a green flag. Someone who's in therapy for severe bipolar disorder, you're going to tell me that's a green flag?
Okay, like.
Well, just because somebody is bipolar doesn't mean that they can't function like normal people.
And just because you're in therapy doesn't mean that you're like treating something.
Or like you have issues.
And just because you're not in therapy doesn't mean that you don't have issues either.
Okay, go ahead.
Also, if you're not in therapy, how would you know you needed that help or not?
I mean, you can be aware of ongoing, if you have any mental health issues, you can be aware of it.
How?
And just, I mean, if you know you have borderline personality disorder, if you know you have BP or bipolar disorder, if you have some other disorder.
But some people can't choose what disorders they have or don't have.
Of course, but I'm just saying in terms of if I'm looking for a partner and the girl's like, yo, I've got fucking crazy bipolar and I've got BPD and.
What if she's like, oh, like I'm just checking with the therapist here and there just to have someone like someone from the outside world giving me advice or their outtake on things?
That's not terrible, but
it also helps because when you don't work through a lot of issues, and like there are select few people in the world who, like go on for most of their life who probably don't have as extensive mental issues as other people, but let's say you end up with a girl who you really, really like and you want to build a future with her and she has mental issues, like it's going to reflect in your relationship.
I don't want to have a relationship with a girl who has mental issues.
So if you really liked her and she was like, I have heavy depression, you'd be like, okay, bye.
Why can't I have my own preferences?
Honestly, that's up for you to decide.
That's just my preference.
But I don't think it's like a red flag that someone's in therapy.
For me, I think it's a red flag.
It shows that they're working on it. Like they're
That's
working
fine.
on something.
I don't have anything against people who are in therapy. If you want to get therapy, if that helps you, fantastic. But for a partner, like looking for a partner, I don't want someone in therapy or who needs therapy.
So would you, like, if you had a partner and then you guys were having like relationship issues, would you go to couples therapy or would you just break it off?
I probably would not go to a therapist.
What's wrong with therapy? Like, what is the stigma for you around it?
Okay, well, I'd say the first thing is, are we talking about the couples therapy thing, or are we talking about?
I'm talking about you, because you're talking about people who go to therapy for themselves. So what is the reason for you that what's the stigma for somebody who's going for themselves?
I don't think there's.
Or why would you go to therapy?
I think the only scenario where I would go to therapy is if I was dealing with like a death of a parent, and maybe like I needed to get sometimes the hospice cares will, how do you cope with the death of a loved one? But like in terms of my life difficulties, I would never see a therapist, ever.
You wouldn't consider that a life difficulty,
What?
losing somebody? Like that's
No,
a
I'm
bump in the road
I'm
of
talking
your
about
life?
I'm talking just about, oh, like life is tough. Like I just said, the circumstance under which I might go to therapy is like, how do I cope with the death of a parent? That's maybe, or the death of a child or something. If I had kids and one of my children died, I'd maybe go to therapy under those circumstances. But like just dealing with like the milieu and the fucking drudgery of life, no. All my I think men and women tend to deal with their problems differently. I don't want to talk about my problems. I have difficulties, but I want solutions to my problems. I don't want to talk about my problems.
But
You
what
don't
if
think
you
a
don't
therapist
have
could bring
solutions?
What's that?
Exactly.
You said you want solutions. You don't want to talk about them. But like, I think
Have you been to therapy?
Yes.
Y'all They don't really
They
give
give
you
solutions. They
Have
do.
you been to therapy?
Huh?
Have you been to therapy?
When I was younger, I had some anxiety issues. I had panic attacks, so I saw a therapist, and he helped me with my panic attacks, and that was.
So like, if you met someone and they had panic attacks and they were seeing a therapist, you would not want to see them. Or if you met somebody and they were seeing a therapist because
I
their
think
parents had
panic
passed
attacks
away.
would be okay, but I think most people are in. Actually, you've maybe changed my mind a little bit on this. So, I guess it depends what they're in there for, but I mean, generally speaking, I'd say generally speaking, no, I would not want to date someone who's seen a
Like,
therapist.
I think it's more of like a resource. Like you said, like if your parents passed away or like something or a loss of someone and you didn't know how to deal with it, you would use a therapist as a resource to get a solution or to see insight. So like that would be the reason you would go. But then someone else could be like, it doesn't have to be like dreading life. It could be like losing a really good job. How do I deal with this? Like, you know, like someone can't find a solution how you may be able to find a solution.
If I just lost my job, I'm not paying $300.
Okay, well that's probably not the best
to see a
example, but I'm saying
therapist.
like losing a parent could be one, and like you.
I said that, yeah.
Yeah, and
losing
then
a
like
parent.
someone doesn't go to therapy for just dreading life. They can go for like plenty of reasons. Or like if you, like you said, you wouldn't go see a couples therapist, but like if you were with someone and you really like them and you guys can't find a solution, what's wrong with getting a solution another way? Just like you would go get a solution. if
Well,
your
so
parent
I'll
passed.
tell you one of the reasons why I'm sort of against therapy is therapy is kind of anti-male. So
What do you mean anti-male?
therapy, like the American Psychological Association, Eric, can you look it up? It's like American Psychological Association, maleness. I'm trying to see if I can. I don't know if it's the American Psychological Association. It's one of these organizations, and they said something about how masculinity. Fuck, I'm trying to find it. Masculinity is harmful masculinity and fuck. I wish I had this ready to go, but I don't.
All I have to say
Oh,
is
here we
you
go.
are narrowing down your options to like just Kiki.
Are you saying not every woman is in therapy?
But you have like a lot of like stipulations.
But like, so a woman can't even go through things in her life to need therapy. That's a lot of people. They don't even have to have a mental illness. It's just life. Like life happens.
Also, mental health can be developed. So, like, if it's not a potential partner, it could be someone that you're already dating and they developed it over time. Like, let's say if you were married and you guys were going to have a kid, that woman could develop postpartum depression and it stays with her after that. Like, would you still want to be with that partner, or would you want to see if they can work on
like
it?
I said, there are some circumstances where therapy is fine.
Mhm.
But look, the point I'm trying to make is if you're seeing a therapist, for example, and you have severe mental, it's kind of less the I'm in therapy and it's more what are you in therapy for? That's the issue that I have. It's not strictly that you're in therapy, it's why are you in therapy? Are you in therapy because you're dealing with some crazy fucking baggage from an ex? Next. I don't want to deal with a
But
girl
then it
that's
doesn't have anything to do with therapy. You're just like, I don't have any crazy baggage from an ex, so why would I deal with someone having crazy baggage from an ex?
Yes.
It's as simple as that. But it's not the
Yeah.
therapy aspect. It's just like,
But they're in therapy
yes,
to deal with that.
But you're not like, oh, I'm not going to see you because you're in therapy. I'm not going to see you because you have a crazy ex. I'm not going to
That's
see
a
you
good
because you have
point.
mental health issues. I'm not going to see you because you're
Yes.
bipolar, not because you're in therapy. Like, you should get therapy and you should get that help, but I don't want to see you. Yeah.
But therapy is kind of the beacon that would point to someone either having a mental health issue or having some baggage from a past relationship, having some sort of past trauma. And hey, look, that stuff happens to people. Go get your therapy. That's great. If it helps you, perfect. But do I want to date someone that is coming to the relationship with a lot of baggage?
No.
For me personally, probably not.
And that's okay. It's okay, like for your own personal preference, what you want.
It's just my preference.
And so basically you're just like, therapy just sparks a red flag of why are you in therapy?
Yes.
Okay, yes, which is fine.
You
yeah.
could be going to, you could be in therapy, and if the reason in terms of, I'm looking at you and I'm like, hey, I want to date you, and if it's just like, oh, you know, you've got panic attacks and you're seeing a therapist that, you know, they're helping you with your panic attacks and anxiety, whatever. I mean, that's okay, right? But it really depends, I guess, like you said, the reason why they're in therapy. So, but like I said, you know, the whole therapy thing, I don't know, it's kind of seems very anti-male to me. So I don't know.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Why do you think it's like that?
Why is it anti-male?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think there's a kind of seems to me to be a bit of a undertone going on of anti-maleness in a lot of spaces. Academia is one of them. And most psychologists, it's not typically a secret. You know, I consider myself politically center-left, like center-left. But amongst a lot of people on the left or people who are liberal, there's a very strong anti-male sentiment. So I'm not about that.